I miss the days of being able to visit a park like normal, but I just can't seem to visit a park like normal people anymore. So if you know me, you know I love theme parks, amusement parks, Disney, and all of that. I love visiting the parks. As a guest, I love being able to explore and ride the rides and the coasters and everything else. I love parks. But it's not the same when I visit anymore. The reasons it's not the same are because of things that have happened in my life and things I've done. Well, it's different for me than it is for most people, for several reasons. One, a lot of times now, if I visit a park, I'm working on videos and making sure I record it, and that makes it different right off the bat. It means instead of having just a fun trip, I'm often on a working trip. And it's quite a bit different when you are going around a park with a camera in your hand, trying to remember, oh, I need to record my meal. Oh, I need to take pictures of what I'm eating. I need to remember to get some footage of the ride. I need to remember to tell people what I think about the ride. Oh, I got to remember to tell people what we're doing and how we're doing and what we're feeling. And so you have to learn to talk out loud to a camera as if it's a person. If there's something happening, you're trying to capture it. And so a lot of times your focus ends up being on your camera. If you've got other people around, it helps because it makes it more natural. But yes, you're worried about getting the footage and filming everything. And, then of course, if you've got other videos in the back of your mind, I got to make sure I get video footage of all of this stuff so I can use it in future videos as well. It makes it harder, much harder, to just relax and enjoy the park. And not just for me, but for those with me too, and with my family. My daughter has very mixed feelings about going to a park with me sometimes. Same with my wife, because I've got the camera on all the time. So much so that on a couple visits, last Christmas, for example, at Silver Dollar City, and then a couple years ago when I took my daughter to Hollywood Studios for her birthday, part of my gift to them was, hey guys, I'm not filming this. I'm putting the cameras away. I might take a couple quick stills if I see something neat, but I'm not worried about filming. We're just going to have fun as a family. And you can see them go, oh, he's not doing the camera thing. So, I mean, it doesn't just affect it for me. It affects it for everybody. It also means that I forget things. One of the things I've noticed when I've gone to parks and I come home and I start working on the footage is, man, I completely forgot to do this. I forgot to record that. I forgot to go do this thing. And you worry a lot more about what you did and didn't do. I was noticing Walt Disney World, this most recent trip. I didn't really visit characters. And I didn't get into many pictures. I actually started to become guilty of what I yell at people about. Of, hey, give the camera to somebody else and get in the picture. Guess what? So I've actually got to work on that some. And remember that I'm not just there to film, but that I'm there to have fun and enjoy with everybody else too. So you have to learn, rethink your brain to remember how to do that. The other thing I find is, as a former employee, I see things very differently than many people do. I watch and notice things that most people don't. I watch the operations of the rides. I see how they operate. I look for how fast they're loading and unloading. I'm noticing if they're doing things right. If there's a slip, I notice it. If they're doing things a little bit different, I'm wondering why. I'm looking at the mechanics of the rides and how they work. How many vehicles they're running. Are they at the most efficient? How long is the line versus how many vehicles are running, and why aren't they running more or less? I see maintenance issues that many people might miss. If I'm at Disney, I really notice when animatronics aren't working, and it bothers me. Or I'll see minor issues like a light bulb out or paint that's flaked or something, and I'm going, ah! I notice all these things that most people will walk right on past and never see, because I've been there and because I've worked and I know how they're supposed to go and how they're supposed to be. And so there's all of these little issues that a lot of people don't notice. I'll watch how the food service workers are working. If there's a train running in the park, I'm absolutely, okay, what kind of engine is it? Is it steam? Is it diesel? Are they actually using coal? How are they operating it? How many engineers? Where's the conductor? What's the conductor doing? What kind of safety features? And I'm looking at all of this stuff that most people don't give a hooey about, but it's all on my mind. So all of those kinds of things, I pay attention to. I notice the employees and the cast members a lot more. I can see when they're working hard. I can see when they're just phoning it in. And I notice how it affects the job. I notice the exemplary ones even more. And the not so good ones, probably more than most people. Because I can see how it affects everything. I watch for when one's having a good day or a bad day. And try to encourage and more than others because I know how much it meant to me when I worked. I look for ways to give them a good word or encouragement. When I'm at Disney, I try to put in cast compliments when I think about it, and I'm not running around with the camera forgetting stuff like that. Because I like to do that, and then I record and I forget it. So I notice how things like that affect the employees. I'm keenly aware of when something isn't going right. Other guests may be walking along, and I'm noticing that the cast members are kind of starting to form a wall, and people aren't seeing this because they do it very nonchalantly, and my intent is to go up and, oh, something's happening, what's going on? And then I have to remember I'm not that anymore. That's probably one of my biggest things, is I have to remember I'm not an employee. I am not responsible for other people's safety. And while I will sometimes tell people, if I see something really egregious, I have to remind myself that it is the cast members and employees' jobs. If I see somebody pulling a phone out on a ride, it's not my job to yell at them. It's my job to let the actual employees know and see if they care. So I have to change responsibilities, but I have times that I want to step up and, hey, you ought to be doing. And I got to remind myself, that's not me anymore. And then I'm also much more bothered when a park doesn't do something that it should. When I know that they should be following certain standards and they're not. When we were at Disneyland in March and my friend ripped a hole in his shorts on one of the rides, I was extremely perturbed when they didn't take care of him. Because I know the standards, I know what they're supposed to do, and rather than help him or fix the problem, they would have rather he walked around with a hole in the back of his shorts exposing himself to everybody. They actually told him to, well, hey, you can leave and go up the road to Target. I was appalled because having worked at the park, I know what the standards are, and that was so far short of them. It really made me mad. More so than it probably would have if I was a regular guest. And yes, I did send in complaints about that because it was that egregious. I noticed things like that when standards aren't what they should be, when the park fails in certain things. And I've always noticed this. Hey, just look at my history of Cedar Point. But even more so as somebody who's worked at the parks, who knows what can be done and should be done. And then when it's not, it was just like, wow, that's terrible. So for me, the best way to honestly to visit a park now is with other people and normal people to be able to relax and enjoy it more, especially with kids and first-timers. When I can go to a park with somebody who hasn't experienced it before, or a kid that's all magical, it's a great reminder to me of what it really is, to see it again through their eyes, to experience it as they do, to not get hung up on all these other things that sometimes I do, but remember, wow, look at what they're seeing. See how they're experiencing it. Look at the fun they're having. And it's a great reminder of what it actually should be when I visit a park. I love going with first-timers and seeing the awe in their eyes, the magic through them. And it reminds me what an incredible, magical place theme parks really are. It'll remind you of what great places they are, what great places to be. And it'll help put your perspective back and go, oh yeah, now I remember why I like these places so much. So there's a little look at how visiting a park is different for me, and probably true for many other employees as well. I'd love to hear your input. What do you think? Have you worked at a park? Do you experience some of the same things? Is it different for you? I'd love to hear your feedback. Please share it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. We're almost at 30,000. Let's hit the goal. Don't forget to check the description below. There's a ton of information there about fan pages, merchandise, how to contact me, all sorts of stuff. There is also information there about how to support me financially. My members and patrons are huge in supporting me, and I couldn't do what I do without them. You can see this little corner of blue back here. That's the wall going up into my basement for my new studio. They help take care of that. There's a lot of other perks that they get as well. Love it if you would check that information out below. Thank you so incredibly much for watching. God bless. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know about contact information, fan pages, merchandise, and more, please be sure to check the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know when I have new ones, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button right up there. And if you want to see another one of my videos, well, I've got a great one for you right here. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people here who support me on Patreon and with YouTube memberships. They get behind the scenes information, special perks, and more. If you'd like to know more about that, well, make sure you check that button right there. Thank you so much.